Welcome back to Jamyy English. I'm Jayz.
And I'm Amy, episode 29, April 29th.
1 month in, almost.
29 episodes, 29 days. And depending on when you're listening to this, you might be coming to the end of April with us.
Today is a special episode. Not a new topic, but something different. We're looking back at the whole month, revisiting the most important vocabulary, hearing from our community, and reflecting on what it means to have shown up every day.
This is the episode we've been working toward in a way, because the point of all 28 episodes before this one was always the same, to give you the language to live more fully, in English, in the world.
Let's see how far we've come. Let's do a vocabulary tour of April. I'll name the episode. Amy gives us the most memorable phrase.
Ready.
Episode 1. Who are we? Self-introductions.
My name is Amy, A-M-Y-Y, with 2 Y's, always with 2 Y's.
Episode 2. Morning routines.
Creature of habit, someone who likes to do the same things every day. That's Jayz.
Episode 3. Asking for directions.
Excuse me, sorry to bother you. I'm a bit lost. The sentence that saved me in Tokyo.
Episode 4. Ordering food.
I'll have the pasta, please. Simple, natural. And I'll have the xiaolongbao, obviously.
Episode 5. Weather and small talk.
Every cloud has a silver lining. Something good can come from something difficult. Still use it.
Episode 6. Numbers, time, and money.
1,500. Not 1,500. 1,500. That one change makes you sound immediately more natural.
Episode 7. Let's go shopping.
Just browsing, thanks. 2 words, complete freedom in any shop.
Episode 8. Does this fit? Trying on clothes.
Do you have this in the next size up? Next size up. 1 size bigger. Specific and natural.
Episode 9. Public transport.
What are my options? For any disruption, any difficult situation, the answer is always there.
Episode 10. Taxis and rideshares.
Keep the change. 2 words, generous, final.
Episode 11. At the airport.
Last call. 2 words that mean go to your gate right now. No debate.
Episode 12. Checking into a hotel.
Is there any possibility of a quieter room? The most polite request opener I know.
Episode 13. Talking on the phone.
Bear with me. Buys time gracefully. My absolute favorite.
Episode 14. Texting and messaging.
K. Don't send this, ever, to anyone.
Episode 15. How are you feeling?
I'm on edge. That sense of tension without a clear cause. Finally had a word for it.
Episode 16. Tell me about your family.
The glue of the family. The person who holds everyone together. My grandmother. Absolutely.
Episode 17. What do they look like?
Photos don't do her justice. She's more beautiful or more interesting in real life than pictures show.
Episode 18. Describing places.
Breathtaking. Used only for places that actually stop your breath. A higher bar than people think.
Episode 19. Want to hang out? Making plans.
Let's lock it in. Stop being tentative. Commit. Lock it in.
Episode 20. Yes, I'd love to. Accepting invitations.
Wild horses couldn't keep me away. The most enthusiastic yes in the English language.
Episode 21. Sorry, I can't make it. Declining.
I'm going to have a quiet one. Honest, gentle, completely unchallengeable.
Episode 23. I'm so sorry. Apologies.
I'm sorry, but don't do it. The but cancels the sorry every time.
Episode 23. You look great. Compliments.
I can tell you put so much work into this. Noticing effort, not just outcome. The most meaningful kind.
Episode 24. I'm not feeling well. Doctor and pharmacy.
I think I'm on the mend. Getting better. On the mend. Such a warm phrase.
Episode 26. Help, what do I do? Emergencies.
Stay on the line. Keep the phone connected in an emergency. They need you there.
Episode 26. English online.
It went viral and touch grass. 2 ends of the internet spectrum.
Ha! Episode 27. What do you do for fun? Hobbies.
I've gotten really into it. The phrase that signals genuine current enthusiasm.
Episode 28. What are you watching? Entertainment.
It stayed with me. For the films and books that keep living in you long after the experience ends.
28 phrases, 1 from every episode. A real vocabulary portfolio. You own all of those now.
I want to share something from our comments. Someone wrote, I didn't know the word bittersweet. and now I feel like I've been given a word for something I felt my whole life.
That comment stayed with me too.
Because that's what vocabulary does at its best. It doesn't just give you a word, it gives you recognition. Something you already knew was there, that you couldn't name.
And naming things changes them. When you can name a feeling, you have some power over it. When you can describe a situation precisely, you can navigate it better.
Language as agency, as clarity, as connection.
That's what April is about.
Let's hear from the community. Some things people shared in the comments this month.
Someone from Vietnam wrote, I used bear with me in a real meeting and it worked perfectly. I felt like I belonged in the room.
That is everything. That's the whole point of this podcast.
Someone from Turkey, I finally said, I'll have the pasta please at a real restaurant. The waiter understood immediately. I've never felt so proud of 3 words.
3 words. An enormous amount of courage packed into 3 words.
I had a job interview in English this week. I used the phrase, "What are my options?" when they asked about a problem I had faced. They said it showed maturity.
Showing maturity, because that phrase does show maturity. It's a solution-focused, forward-looking, professional response.
And someone from South Korea, I described the weather to a stranger today. I said, "Lovely day, isn't it?" And they smiled and started talking to me. I made a small connection with someone I'll never see again, but it mattered.
It mattered. A small connection that mattered.
This is why. That moment on the street, that feeling of belonging in a room, that smile from a stranger, this is why we make this podcast every single day. Let's do a quick review exercise. I'll describe a situation, you tell me the phrase.
Ready.
You arrive at a shop and want to look around without help.
Just browsing, thanks.
Someone asks how you are, and you're genuinely tense and unsettled.
Honestly, I've been a bit on edge lately. I'm not sure why.
You're canceling plans you already committed to.
I feel terrible about this. Something's come up. Can I take a rain check?
You're accepting an invitation enthusiastically.
I'd absolutely love to. Wild horses couldn't keep me away.
You need time to think during a phone call.
Bear with me one moment.
A film affected you deeply, and you're still thinking about it weeks later.
It really stayed with me. I keep coming back to it.
Every one of those, natural, confident, real English. Let me interview Amy, the same way we might interview a listener. These are the questions our audience is probably asking themselves right now.
Go ahead.
What's the single most important thing someone could take from April's episodes?
That the gap between perfect and understood is much smaller than you think. You don't need perfect English. You need clear English. A simple sentence said with confidence gets you 90% of the way there in almost any situation.
What mistake do you see English learners most often?
Waiting. Waiting until their English is better before they use it. It never feels ready, so they wait indefinitely. The answer is to use it now, imperfectly, and let the using make it better.
What would you tell someone who feels like progress is happening too slowly?
That progress in language is mostly invisible until it isn't. You don't feel it building. And then one day, someone says, "Your English is so natural," and you realize it happened while you weren't watching. Trust the process. Show up. The progress is accumulating even when you can't see it.
What's the most underrated episode from this month?
Episode 15, Emotions and Feelings. Because having the words for your interior life, not just the exterior world, changes how you connect with people. I'm on edge. I feel bittersweet. I'm a bit overwhelmed. These phrases are worth more than most people realize.
And what are you most looking forward to in May?
The humor episode. Understanding English humor, the irony, the understatement, the timing, feels like the final layer of fluency. Like being let into a room you've been standing outside.
Being let into a room you've been standing outside. That's a beautiful image.
I've been thinking about it.
One last question. What do you want to say directly to the people who have listened to every episode this month?
That learning a language as an adult is genuinely one of the hardest and most courageous things a person can choose to do. The frustration, the moments of feeling inadequate, the gap between what you want to express and what comes out. We know that gap. I lived that gap. And what you're doing, showing up every day, trying, takes more strength than most people realize. We see it. We're grateful for it. Please keep going.
Please keep going.
I want to say something personal about what this month has meant to me.
Tell us.
When we started, I was confident in written English and professional English. But the warm, storytelling, natural English, the kind you use to describe a feeling, to talk about your family, to make someone laugh, I was less sure.
And now?
I think in English more than I used to. Not translating, actually generating thoughts in English. And I notice it when I speak. Less hesitation, more rhythm, phrases appearing before I search for them.
That's the shift. Not perfect grammar, that was always there, but fluency as a feeling, as belonging.
That's the right word. Belonging.
And for our listeners, if you've been consistent, you may already feel something like this. A phrase that comes to you naturally, a word that appears before you search for it. Those moments are real, and they're yours. You built them.
Nobody could give them to you. We could offer the words, but you had to do the work. The listening, the practicing, the showing up.
And you showed up. 29 days in a row for some of you. That's not small. That's a real commitment. Let's also revisit some of the cultural insights from this month, because language is never just words. It's the culture behind them.
We learned that how are you in English is often just a greeting, not a real question. And when it is a real question, the tone tells you.
We learned that maybe in English social invitations often means no, and that genuine enthusiasm is followed by engagement, not just warmth.
We learned that the British say sorry constantly for things that aren't their fault, as a preface to disagreement, as an expression of sympathy. Same word, 5 different functions.
We learned that complimenting someone and then seeing them deny it actually puts the compliment giver in an awkward position. Thank you is always the right response.
We learned that leaving someone on read, seeing their message and not responding, is considered slightly rude in English digital culture. A quick, I'll get back to you, is always better.
We learned that tips in American restaurants are not optional. They're part of the social contract because servers depend on them for their income.
We learned that we should do this sometime without a follow-up plan is often the English way of saying goodbye warmly rather than making a commitment.
And we learned that humor, English humor especially, often works through understatement. Not bad can mean excellent. I suppose it was rather good can mean extraordinary.
These cultural layers, you can't find them in a grammar book. You find them in real conversation, in real situations, in real English media, and in podcasts like this one.
Which is why we do this every day. Not to teach grammar, there are textbooks for that. To give you the culture, the texture, the living English.
The living English.
That's what April gave you. 30 days of living English.
Homework, the most important homework of the month.
Tell us.
Think back to the beginning of April. Think about your English before episode 1 and ask yourself, what's different?
What's changed? What phrase do you now use that you didn't before? What word did you not have that you have now? What situation would have been harder before episode 1 that would be easier today?
Write it down. Even one thing, even one word, one phrase, one moment where your English did something for you that it couldn't do a month ago.
That is the measure of progress that matters. Not test scores, not grammar points, moments.
Share it in the comments. We want to celebrate with you.
Tomorrow, the final episode of April, episode 30.
Episode 30, the last day of the month, and a launchpad for May.
May is going to be something special, a different kind of English, deeper, more nuanced, more connected to who you really are.
But that's tomorrow. Tonight, appreciate how far you've come.
You've come a long way.
You really have.
I want to do one more thing in this episode, a proper language challenge, something that uses everything from the month together.
Oh, I like this. Go.
Imagine you're meeting someone for the first time at an event. You've been living abroad for 6 months. You want to make a real connection. You have about 5 minutes. How do you use everything we've learned?
Okay, I open with a compliment and a question. I love your badge, by the way. What organization is it for? That uses episode 23. It's specific. It opens a conversation.
They tell you about their work. You use episode 15, emotional vocabulary. That sounds like really meaningful work. Do you find it fulfilling? Showing you're interested in how they feel about what they do, not just what they do.
They mention they're also new to the city. Episode 18, describing places. What do you make of it so far? I found it a bit overwhelming, but also electric. There's this energy here that I didn't expect.
They ask about your weekend. Episode 27, hobbies. I've been getting into hiking lately. There are some incredible trails just outside the city. Do you do anything outdoors?
They mention they're leaving soon to meet another group. Episode 19, invitations. I'd love to continue this conversation. Are you free for coffee sometime this week?
And if they say maybe or we should catch up sometime,
episode 19 again. I'll hold you to that. Let me give you my number now so we don't lose touch. Specific, direct, warm.
5 minutes, 5 episodes worth of vocabulary, 1 real potential friendship started.
That's what the whole month was building toward. Not separate vocabulary lists, one integrated toolkit for genuine human connection in English.
Integration. That's the word for where you are at the end of April.
You're not learning words anymore. You're learning to be yourself in English.
That's the real fluency. Being yourself in English.
And it took 29 episodes to say that clearly, but that's what it's always been about.
Think about that for a moment. Being yourself in a second language. Not performing a version of yourself that fits the vocabulary you have. Actually expressing who you are, what you think, how you feel.
At the beginning of April, that was a distant goal. By the end of April, you have the tools.
Not all of them. Never all of them. Language is infinite. But enough. Enough to show up. Enough to connect. Enough to belong in a conversation that matters to you.
Enough to belong. I keep coming back to that.
Because belonging is the thing underneath all of it. Why we learn languages. Why we practice. Why we show up every day.
To belong somewhere new. In a language not born in us.
And you're doing it.
You really are. One more thing about the month we've had. We talked a lot about survival English, what to say in specific situations. But I want to name something that runs underneath all of it.
What's that?
Confidence. The real thing we've been building isn't vocabulary. It's the confidence to use vocabulary you already have, to open your mouth in a second language and trust that communication will happen.
Because it will. It really will. Your English is more than enough for most real-world situations. The vocabulary was never the main barrier.
The main barrier was the voice that says, not yet, not good enough yet, wait until it's better.
And after 30 days, that voice should be a little quieter, because you've proven 30 times that showing up works.
30 pieces of evidence that you can do this.
Keep collecting that evidence.
Let's learn, speak, and grow together. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.